And we think that we will meet adults who love us, and that's the trust with which we are born. So we are loving persons and persons who are loved in turn. And we can ask, whether love has something to do with our origins. We come out to the soul of the fourth reflection. Well, we're not coming out to this, we're already right in the middle of it. So what are we? We are the present of a lineage of bipedal primates that jointly consume food, as a result of which we can say that by means of the instruments that we have, our fingers, something is changed so that we have an organ that is loved and cared for. This hand is made, is there in order to take hold in loving form of another hand, and we also use our hand to kill, to attack. But originally, in historical terms, it was always the case with regard to our forebears. It was the case that they loved each other, the same as was the case with the chimpanzees, our forebears. Chimpanzees have hands which are also like their feet. These organs are very soft, can be moved very flexibly, and they're similar to the hands that human beings have. It's the question of tenderness that's involved when a child cries and is gently caressed by its mother, and the child stops crying and is satisfied and moves away. And it is satisfied because the tenderness soothes its pain. So we are human beings, Homo sapiens, amans, beings that are born in love and act in a loving manner throughout our lives. So we're all born in a loving manner. So people are born in love. We talk about ourselves as people who will come into the world based on the assumption that we will be loved, that we will be accepted. And when we were betrayed, well, we should be coming back to that later on. What was the first act of treachery and where did it take place? Look at this tenderness. We describe this picture as an image taken from an act of love. We all have similar pictures, but this is a brotherly attitude which reflects love. A man without any exertion embraces his wife. We are tender from cradle to grave. This isn't an assumption or a philosophical argument. It is not a mystic concept. It is not a recommendation. We are, in biological terms, organisms that love. We are loving beings. We would not like to be seen, loved, be present, be loved, because loving means seeing, and seeing means loving. And if you're not seen and you're not heard, then you cannot be loved in life. You have your expectations, and these expectations mean demands. I should like you to be as I would like you to be. who would like to live and not really be present. The complaint that you're not seen and heard is the complaint of a person who does not experience love. A young boy or girl comes home from school and says, "Why does the teacher not like you?" "Well, he doesn't like me, the teacher." "Well, the teachers say that they like children." Okay, if I put my hand up and put a question, then he doesn't give me a turn. All right, then the parents say, "We'll speak to the teacher." He doesn't see me, doesn't hear me, I'm not present. So, how do we hear? Traditionally, in our culture, we hear and expect the other person will have the same thought as I have because I know the truth and I have the relevant reason. I know how things are, yes, but I hear you. Give me a good reason for what you've just saying. Okay, we've got to develop this thought. So listen to me for a moment so I can develop a line of argument. So we hear other people and expect them to say what I think myself. So we call upon him or her to listen with a question. Now, why does the other person say things the way he says things? Because he always says something that is valid. Now, we can deny that. We can say that we do not agree, but we can only say that after we've heard what the other person has said. We can say, okay, we don't concur with you when the other person advances her point of view. Now, there's something that's entirely different as if you were to say from the outset that I do not agree with you. We're born as loving organisms, and then we are betrayed in our coexistence. This betrayal can take various forms. It can be difficult to see, for instance. For instance, if you don't listen to somebody, that's a kind of betrayal.
Como seres humanos nos encontramos siendo seres que coordinan su convivir en la generación.
As human beings, we are human beings that live together as a result of recursive generations and doings in languaging and conversations that we live as different worlds or realities. Yes, we either listen to each other or we don't listen to each other. But in the course of a conversation, we introduce a number of thoughts, we voice those thoughts, we demonstrate various modes of behavior, we have different levels of persuasion, which has to do with the way that we want to live, what we would like to hear, but it is a part of our existence. And how does a conversation evolve in this networking of language? It's a flow of coordinations and of emotions. And since we are in this world of language, we experience worlds that form these conversational networks, which are at the same time closed and bring forth a culture. And a culture is a closed network of conversations in which deliberately or unconsciously you design your own individual life. You are in a culture and you change the context of that culture. This is an inherent dynamic which is there in the closed culture, in the conversational networks. How did mankind develop? We believe that 3 million years ago that a small group of two-legged primates got together in a kind of communal life in which they were together over an extended period. In other words, they lived together on a continued basis. In the well-being of the pleasure of the coordination, sharing food and caresses, in the enjoyment of body nearness, in play and sexual intimacy.